Hey, buddy. Hey. I am up and at 'em pretty early this morning. I wanted to bring you guys along to a horse auction I was going to today. I just fed all of the horses. It is pretty chilly this morning. I got a few things ready yesterday. I prepped a stall with fresh hay and water and nice fluffy shavings. I'm bringing some tack that I no longer use to consign. I'm hoping I'll get enough to cover my fuel for the day. I go to all different kinds of horse auctions, but I want to give you guys an idea of the kind of auction I go to when I'm looking for a rehab project for myself. They have smaller local auctions like this all across the United States. Some horses will be ridden through, but a lot of them will be sold loose. They usually don't have a lot of information on them, so if you want to find anything out about the horse, you have to physically go back and look at them. This can be tricky for people that haven't gone to a lot of horse auctions. There are some riding horses here with the owners present that you can ask questions, but when I go to a sale like this, I am looking for more at-risk horses. They could be young and unhandled, older and a little bit on the thin side, or they may have a problem that I could possibly rehab and find them a new home. These were two thinner looking thoroughbred type horses. When I'm evaluating horses at the auction, I'm also thinking about what it's going to cost me to put them through my program and how easy it will be for me to find them a proper home when I'm finished. Thoroughbreds can be hard to rehome. I do live in Montana, so there's not really a need for them out here. These two mares were super cute. I think they were Arabian or something gated. They didn't seem to have any problems that I could see, but they were on the older side. I found this super cute little mare. She is exactly the kind of horse that I'm interested in. I put her on my list and began evaluating her. She looked like a little cow horse bred quarter horse, and she did have quite small feet. She got a little annoyed when I was picking them up, but she didn't do anything too terrible. When I'm shopping, I like to go through the horses very quickly once and then come back to the ones that I have on my list. These horses were in the next pen, and I recognized that they were using horses from the Forest Service. They looked on the older side, and they probably just can't handle the heavy work that is required of them working all summer long. I really like the looks of this mule. He was super friendly. All three of these horses were really nice horses. I put these guys on my list and then made a few phone calls to see if I could find out any more information on them. The two thoroughbreds I saw earlier, I wanted to check for tattoos. I didn't see any, and their teeth looked like they were probably 5 or 6 years old. They may have been microchipped. I really like thoroughbreds, but it is extremely hard for me to keep them fed through the winter. They usually require 3 or 4 times the amount of hay that my quarter horses do. This guy is more like what I'm used to getting. He was pretty snorty and fractious. I don't think he's going to be the kind of horse that I'm going to be picking up today. They did have a handful of horses at this sale that were really nice. This big bay horse I really liked. I know he's going to be more expensive than what I usually budget for a rehab. But then I saw this little pony. I have a little Appaloosa pony at home that really could use a friend, so I looked at this girl. She did have signs that she had foundered in the past and her feet were not super great. I wanted to check her teeth to see if I could figure out how old she was. It would be nice if I could get my pony a companion his age, and this girl had some really wonky teeth. Dental work can be one of the more expensive things I have to factor in when I'm buying a rehab horse. I needed to check the Forest Service horse's teeth, so I went back in to get a more thorough look at what was going on with each of them. This one was really nice. I couldn't really see anything wrong with him, so he might have just been too much horse for the type of person that needed to handle him every day. I really liked this mule. He was very sweet and kind, and his body condition was very good. A lot of times when I find mules at these sales and they're this age, they are pretty thin, but this guy looks like he's not having trouble keeping weight on. He was also super kind and really just wanted me to snuggle him. These older mules are perfect for someone who's just starting out and wants a pack mule to go hunting with or go out on trail adventures. Their workload for the Forest Service is usually a lot more than the regular person will ever need them for. So even though they need to be retired, they can work quite well for most people. I know a few people that are looking for a mule just like this, so if I buy him, I'll be able to rehome him very easily. After handling him a little bit more, I wanted to put this guy on the top of my list. I think he would be a good one for me to invest my time in. I noticed a spot on this guy's eye, and I think this is old, but it probably is affecting his vision somewhat. Any small problem that a horse has working in a commercial string or on a dude ranch can pose a liability to the guests, and many places will sell a horse just because of that. I've got a few horses on my list, but I'm going to go back and check out that really cute sorrel horse again. I was hoping that someone would ride her, but I didn't see her owner around, and she was dropped off last night. So it's unlikely that I'm going to be able to get any more information on her. She was standing like her front feet hurt her a little bit. Whoever owned her was taking pretty good care of them, so she may have something going on that is just from old age. I had a really hard time looking at her teeth, but when I finally got a glimpse of them, I noticed that her incisors were pretty worn down. Even though her body condition was pretty good, I'm thinking realistically this horse is older than 20. She had hardly any fat left in the hollows above her eyes. Her legs were really straight and she didn't have any bumps from arthritis on them. Her back did seem a little bit sore. I would be surprised if she wasn't broke to ride, but I don't think I'll be able to find that out before I purchase her. This was a handsome gelding that was for sale. I think they're gonna ride him through. I'm trying to make some final decisions on what horses I'm going to keep my eyeballs open for at the sale. A lot of the auction videos that I've seen on YouTube, it has people going and buying loads and loads of horses. And I wanted to give you guys an accurate representation of what it's like when one person goes and tries to save one horse at a sale like this. There is a lot more that goes into it than just buying the first horse that comes through the ring. I need to make sure I'm spending my money wisely and that the horse that I buy has a chance at a life after I'm done rehabbing them. This was another pen of really nice using horses that were being retired. I was a little bit surprised I didn't see more horses in really bad condition. Most of them were just older and they were needing new homes for the winter. I wanted to get another look at these girls, but by the time I made it back to their pen, they were totally over people poking them. I cannot really handle any surprise babies right now. I'll probably keep my eye out for them, but I don't think I'm going to bid on them. I noticed that there was a Mustang in this pen of horses. He was pretty fractious and a little bit spooked about everything that was going on. I've done a handful of makeovers and I used to be a tip trainer, so I'm very familiar with Mustangs. This one looked like he wasn't handled very much at all. He did have some halter marks on his nose, but he would be one that would be a really big undertaking for me at this point in time, so I'm gonna pass on him. It's getting closer to auction time, so I'm gonna go back and look at that mare one more time. I'm really on the fence about her because she is super sweet and doesn't have any huge problems, but she does have a significant amount of age on her and she will be very hard for me to find a home for once I'm done rehabbing her. I did get a text back about those Park Service horses, and the people I know do know them and had some more information on them, and they would just be much smarter for me to invest in right now. This is the hardest part of going to a sale, trying to figure out which ones to buy when you have no idea what order they're going to be coming through the ring. I got some lunch and had a little internal battle with myself about which horse I was going to try and bid on. I was expecting the prices to be low because we are coming into winter and a lot of people need to sell some of their horses. But when they started off the sale with a few riding horses for less than $1,000, I knew the prices were going to be lower than I had expected. Most of the horses were just trail horses. This one sold for $22.50. I was still trying to decide what horse I was going to purchase, and then this mare came in the ring. I was really taken by surprise because she was being ridden in and I thought that she was going to be selling loose. She was at the very beginning of the sale, and I really was hoping to bring that mule home, so I had a really hard time deciding whether or not I was going to bid on her. She did not spend very much time in the ring, and she ended up selling very quickly for only $300. I go to a lot of horse auctions, and I know the reality of what might happen to a horse that sells for that price. As an individual, I can't buy all the horses I see. I don't have the time or money to rehab all of them, and this is the hardest kind of decision that I make when I attend one of these sales. When winter rolls around in Montana, a lot of people will be forced to sell their horses, especially older ones that they cannot keep weight on. There were a handful of older horses that ended up in really good homes, but the longer I sat at the sale, the more upset I felt about the little mare that I had to pass over. This next horse was that really pretty bay horse that I saw when I was looking around. I think he ended up being the high seller, and he sold for $5,100. This sale wasn't very big. I'm not sure exactly how many horses were here, but there was maybe 30 to 40. The vast majority of them were selling between $400 and $900. I was patiently waiting for those outfitter horses to come through because the prices were looking like I was going to be able to take one home. When this pony came through, I was surprised she sold for $1,000. I wanted to get up and stretch my legs, so I went and I picked up my check from the tax sale. I ended up getting $115, which will cover my fuel for the trip, so that was nice. I went back and I checked to see where they were at in the sale, and they were getting ready to bring the loose horses through. I was trying not to think about that mare because it was looking like the mule was going to be the right price for me to bring home. I think somebody in the crowd knew this sorrel horse, so he ended up selling a little bit higher than what I was expecting, and he sold for $1,600. Up next was the mule, so I got ready to go ahead and bid on him. I wanted to let people know that I wasn't messing around, so I ended up being the first bid at $800. This guy was a Belgian draft mule, so I was thinking $1,200 would be a very reasonable price for me to pay for him. It was looking like nobody else was going to bid on him, so I got excited that I was going to be able to take him home when all of a sudden somebody else bid on him. I sat for a minute deciding what my top dollar was going to be before I bid again, but then a few people started bidding him up, and he ended up selling for $2,000. There were a few horses I looked at that sold, like this Mustang for $400. The thoroughbreds that I looked at earlier also came in, and they sold for $400 as well. There were a handful of horse traders at the sale today, so it's very likely that these girls will be taken to another sale or sold privately. Up next were the two little mares that I thought were Arabians. They actually ended up being registered Pasafinos. They were both in their 20s and ended up selling for $300 a piece. I do know that these two girls went to someone who's probably going to ride them and then resell them. And the last animals to go through for the day were the little BLM donkeys, and they sold to private homes for $200 a piece. When the auction was over, I headed home with an empty trailer. If that little mare had sold at the end of the sale, I would be bringing her home, and it really got me upset. I had a long drive home, and I did shed a few tears for her. When I finally made it home, I reminded myself that there will always be more horses and that I can't save them all. I spent some time hanging out with the horses that I have saved from auctions like this, and it made me feel a little better. Every auction I attend is different. Some end with me bringing home a new horse, and some end with me being very disappointed. I hope this video gives you guys a better understanding of what I do and how I pick out which horses to rehab, and that there is a lot more to it than just going to the sale and buying a horse.